Hi, my name is Terry Sager, and I am reading another one of my creepy stories for Olympic Peninsula authors on YouTube. This one is called For the Greater Good. Maybe Jim would still be alive if I hadn't gone to the diner for breakfast that morning, because as I left the diner, I passed Sam's cluttered newsstand. It was April 8th, 1966. A Friday. Bright red letters on a black background caught my eye. The cover of Time asked, "Is God dead?" I had a better question. Who the hell cares? He sure as crap not going to help me. Never has, never will. But the cover gave me pause. I gave Sam 35 cents and picked up a copy. I folded the magazine and stowed it under my arm. I continued 2 blocks up the street to the county courthouse. I stopped for a minute at the bottom of the steps. The building and I had recently celebrated our 50th birthday. I loved the architecture of it, the red brick, the clock tower. It had a regal presence. This building has possessed me. It has not just been my workplace, it has been my place of belonging. Then, as I had done for nearly 30 years, I made my way up the front steps and into my cubby in the assessor's office. The rhododendrons would bloom soon, and the trees were wearing the light green spring foliage. On this northern coast of Washington, it wouldn't feel like summer until July. This summer, I will be able to go fishing anytime I want, especially now that Esme is gone. I hated to leave her for too long. Usually I would just go for the day, but nothing is usual now. Things have changed. It's terminal, the doctor said. You should put your affairs in order. The county was very kind. Human Resources advised me they were granting me a 3-month leave of absence. Not really granted, advised. Strongly suggested. Today was my last work day before the leave started. Maybe my last work day ever. The doctor's words were so final. No encouragement to fight the good fight. But even if he had tried to give me hope, my body also told me. The twinges of pain in my side came more often and lasted longer. I doubted I would be back. I was past caring. At lunch, I sat on a bench near the courthouse and smoked as many cigarettes as my 30 minutes would allow. No need to quit now. I barely remembered the number of tax files I completed that morning, but, well, my priorities are different now. My mind was elsewhere. And if I'd made mistakes, I guess I will be forgiven. I took a mental inventory of my situation. At first, of course, there was denial. But truthfully, as a numbers person, I had to admit I brought this on myself. I had grown a gut from too much gourmet cuisine and too much of the best scotch I could afford. My teeth had yellowed from incessant smoking, just as I had a yellowed view of life from too much disappointment. Even so, it would take some time to believe that soon I would cease to exist at all. Just a hair past 50, not really old, but definitely past my prime. Terminal. I thought I would greet death with the same resignation with which I usually greeted life. I thought about life too much, felt it too deeply, and lived it rarely. I wasn't a father, and only a husband for a brief hellish time. I had become the office drone I had felt sorrow for as well as contempt for in my college days. A spent human being, useless. I always thought I had time. Time for things to change, maybe even divine intervention. At one time, I believed. I hadn't even had a close friend, though, since my 30s, other than Esmeralda, and Jim took her from me. I thought about the cover of Time when my brain wasn't occupied with thinking about what Jim had done. I hadn't actually read the article, very unscientific of me, But it got me thinking, what if? I never thought God was alive, but I did know evil was. How about, is evil dead? Now that would be an article worth reading. I knew that God existed in some people and definitely in animals, but evil existed too. There was no bearded man in the sky and no red man with a tail and horns living in a fiery pit down below somewhere. What if, before I was confined to some nursing home waiting to die, I killed some evil? Maybe in the time I had left, I had a purpose. If I kill the evil that God, in his omniscience and his omnipotence, has obviously decided to ignore, then I would be acting for the greater good. We all have a bit of evil in us, but we have become experts at keeping it hidden. But what about pure evil? People who seem to thrive on causing pain. The obvious evil. Could I kill that? Just 3 blocks from home, I stopped in front of the general store. They sold everything imaginable. The window was filled with hand-painted signs, but one caught my attention. Final sale. Don't wait. Over soon. I took that as a message meant for me. Yes, I can kill the cruel and heartless, the ones without a conscience. I can matter. And I mustn't wait. As I walked into my little house and threw the keys in the bowl on the table by the door, I remembered it would be Esmeralda's birthday soon. That made me think of Jim again, the bastard. An hour later, 2 doors down, I stood on Jim's porch. I heard Walter Cronkite delivering the news. No mistaking the modulated voice, the measured, almost soothing way he reported the horrors of the day. I rang the doorbell, and Cronkite went silent. When Jim answered the door, the surprise on his face was expected. We hated each other. But true to his breeding and holier-than-thou attitude, he invited me in. I counted on that. He led me into the living room, complete with puke green shag carpeting, a citron couch, and a TV tray sitting in front of it. He tried to be hip, but he was too old. Way too old for that. I tightened my grip on the gun in my jacket pocket. So sorry, I lied. I've interrupted your dinner. Hotshot eats TV dinners. It's cool. I was finished. Let me just take this to the kitchen and I'll be right back. Hey man, have a seat. This was it. If I was going to matter, I had to start now. Don't wait. As he headed to the kitchen, I shot him in the back, that particular place on the spine that would paralyze, not kill. Part 1. That did the trick. The impact caused the TV tray to fly from his hands, and he looked back at me as if trying to understand where the pain was coming from. His body twisted as he went down. He landed on his back. His brain had not fully comprehended what was happening to his perfect world. I knelt beside him, put one hand on his chest, and my other still holding the gun. As his eyes, wild with fear, searched my face, confused, I said, "This is for Esmeralda, my Esme. You poisoned her because she peed in your garden. I know it, and you know it. She's a cat, for God's sakes. And now I see the same fear in your eyes I saw in hers as I sat with her that night, willing her to live. She didn't survive. You won't either. Goodbye, asshole." I shot him between the eyes. If I hadn't changed my routine and eaten at the diner that morning, I wouldn't have passed by Sam's newsstand, and I wouldn't have seen the cover of Time. I would have taken my sabbatical peacefully, knowing I had crafted my own fate. I would have died some night after too much scotch and too many pain pills. I don't know. It must have been divine intervention. One thing I did know was that God wasn't dead. I was very much alive and still had a couple good months left, and I had a purpose.